You might know what the children of your favorite Hollywood icons, music legends and members of high society look like. But what about their grandchildren? From Audrey Hepburn to Whoopi Goldberg, here's a look at those stars who bear more than a passing resemblance to the kids of their kids. 40. Whoopi Goldberg and Amara Skye. Amara Skye doesn't just share her grandmother Whoopi Goldberg's eyes, cheeks and glowing smile. She also has the same birthday as the Sister Act star. Skye appears to be super grateful to be able to call the EGOT winner Granny too. She once captioned an Instagram snap of Goldberg, "I love this woman who makes everything possible for me and our family. A true legend." 39. John and Drew Barrymore. According to reports, Drew Barrymore's entertainment lineage goes back an incredible 7 generations. We'll never know if the two-time Charlie's Angel resembled her 18th century relatives, but we do know that she inherited her nose, chin and eyes from her grandfather John. Despite being born 33 years after his passing, Drew told TCM Film Festival attendees in 2011 that she'd always had a strong affinity with the early silver screen star. 38. Princess Diana and Princess Charlotte. We'll have lots of opportunities to see how closely Princess Charlotte resembles her various family members as she grows up. For now, she's the spitting image of a young Princess Diana. Yes, the future king and queen's first daughter has definitely inherited the sparkling big eyes that made the late royal the most photographed woman in the world. 37. Ernest and Dree Hemingway. Dree Hemingway may closely resemble her grandfather, the literary great Ernest, but she hasn't exactly always appreciated his talents. Despite attending an elementary school named after the Nobel Prize winner, back in 2015 Dree told Elle magazine that she couldn't really appreciate his works. She has, though, read several biographies about the grandpa she never met in a bid to feel closer to him. 36. Berry Gordy and Sky Blue. Musically, Berry Gordy and his grandson Sky Blue are poles apart. The former was responsible for one of the best and biggest hit factories of all time, Motown, while the latter was one half of the novelty electro-pop duo LMFAO, who had hits such as Sexy and I Know It. But the seemingly unlikely relatives do share several other things in common, namely their big sparkling eyes and beaming smiles. 35. Ron Howard and Theodore Howard Gable. Long before he became an acclaimed Oscar-winning director, Ron Howard was a child star on The Andy Griffith Show, and although he has blonde rather than red hair, grandson Howard Gable could easily have played his twin. Only time will tell whether the youngster follows in the footsteps of his grandpa, and indeed, his mother Bryce Dallas Howard. 34. Errol and Sean Flynn. Most viewers of Nickelodeon hit Zoe 101 probably didn't realize that the cast included the grandson of a bona fide Hollywood legend. That's right, Chase Matthews was played by Sean Flynn, whose grandfather was none other than swashbuckling hero Errol. In 2013, the former landed a minor role in a biopic of his lookalike grandpa, The Last of Robin Hood. 33. Charlie Chaplin and James Thierry. Silent movie icon and renowned ladies' man Charlie Chaplin had no fewer than 11 children and subsequently more than 25 grandkids, so it's perhaps little surprise that at least a few have followed in his showbiz footsteps. Thierry is one of the more famous, having racked up more than 24 acting credits since 1991's Prospero's books, and he also bears the strongest family resemblance. 32. Samuel and Tony Goldwyn. Tony Goldwyn shot to fame as the villain in Ghost, and more recently played a key role in Shonda Rhimes' hit TV series Scandal, but you might not know that the actor was born into Hollywood royalty. Yes, Tony is the grandson of Samuel Goldwyn, the Polish-American film impresario who founded several production studios, and he also seems to have inherited his grandpa's nose, ears and chin too. 31. Grace Kelly and Charlotte Kasaragi. Actress turned Princess Grace Kelly is widely regarded as one of the most beautiful women of the 20th century. The Oscar winner had 3 children before suffering a fatal car accident in 1982, but it's one of her grandchildren that's become her most obvious lookalike. Charlotte Kasaragi, the daughter of the Princess of Hanover, possesses the same expressive eyes and graceful facial structure as the Hitchcock favorite. 30. Loretta and Taylor Lynn. Taylor Lynn certainly doesn't have any qualms about being compared to her grandmother and country music icon Loretta. The singer-songwriter will regularly cover songs by the Nashville legend during her own shows and has also shared the stage with her, too. In 2020, Taylor proudly showed off an article on Instagram which commented on the notable similarities between their winning grins and striking cheekbones. 29. Patty Duke and Ali Astin. Ali Astin first appeared on screen aged just 6, playing her father Sean's daughter Eleanor Gamgee in The Return of the King. The youngster wasn't just following in the child star footsteps of her dad. Grandmother Patty Duke had also graced the screen before she'd reached her teens. When Ali posted a side-by-side pic of herself and her grandma on Instagram in 2017, her followers couldn't stop commenting on the closeness in physical appearance. 28. Joan Rivers and Edgar Endicott. Joan Rivers underwent so much cosmetic surgery that it's inevitably difficult to notice any resemblance to the rest of her family at all. But if you look at a picture of the comedienne in her early years, you'll see she looks the spitting image of her grandson Edgar Endicott. The youngster, who's the son of the late funny woman's daughter Melissa, is said to be much sweeter and more polite than his sharp-tongued grandma. 27. Carmine Coppola and Jason Schwartzman. British newspaper The Guardian once described Jason Schwartzman as resembling the hybrid love child of Cher, Anthony Kiedis and Steve Carell, yet the Rushmore actor has his famous grandfather to thank for this distinctive look. Carmine Coppola, who composed the music for his son Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather sequel, undoubtedly shared similar facial features, not least his dramatically furry eyebrows, as well as his chin and nose. 26. Priscilla Presley and Riley Keough. Riley Keough never met her grandfather, aka one of the most famous men ever to walk the planet. Elvis died in 1977, 12 years before she was even born, but Riley does have a strong relationship and a strong resemblance to her grandmother Priscilla. This was never more true for the actress than when she sported her red-haired look in Mad Max Fury Road, and in an Instagram post, Riley described her grandma as a queen. 25. Martha and Jude Stewart. Martha Stewart has apparently had the same haircut since she was a child, and it appears to have inspired her granddaughter Jude's too. The celebrity chef couldn't be prouder of how the youngster and her sibling have turned out. In a 2013 blog post, Martha wrote, "It's always fun seeing the wonder in my grandchildren's eyes. Having Jude and Truman in my life is such a rewarding pleasure." 24. Kris Jenner and Mason Disick. Mason Disick must be one of the most famous celeb grandchildren yet to enter their teens. The youngster's birth was even captured on camera for all the world to see in reality TV hit Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Yes, Mason is the eldest of Kris Jenner's 10 grandkids and has undoubtedly inherited her dark hair and facial features, and the woman he calls Lovey sure likes spoiling him. She once bought him a Versace coat worth $3,000. 23. Bob and Pablo Dillon. In 2011, Pablo Dillon claimed to GQ magazine that if people didn't know he was the grandson of folk hero Bob, no one would ever draw comparisons between them. Yet his hair, described by Vogue magazine as a wild halo of floating curls, suggests otherwise. And although Pablo initially began pursuing a career as a rapper, he's since settled into the same kind of singer-songwriter fare synonymous with the counterculture icon. 22. John and Brendan Wayne. Brendan Wayne may have a slimmer facial shape than his grandfather, a legend of the Westerns movie genre, but his teeth and eyes are unmistakably John. Brendan has also pursued a career as an actor, showing up in the likes of TV shows CSI Crime Scene Investigation and Sons of Anarchy, as well as big-screen hit The Fast and the Furious. He's also served as the double of the Mandalorian in the latest part of the Star Wars franchise that his grandpa reportedly helped to inspire. 21. Walter and Angelica Houston. The Houston family resemblance sure appears to have been much stronger than their bond. According to the Addams Family star Angelica, her actor father John was too busy working away to spend much time at home. And her grandfather Walter, whose classic look she's inherited, had a similarly distant relationship with his son too. 20. Elizabeth Taylor and Quinn Tivy. Artist Quinn Tivy always admired how his grandmother Elizabeth Taylor had the bravery to fight for her beliefs. It's no doubt why in 2016 he honored her memory by becoming a co-trustee for the late Hollywood Icons Trust. Quinn is the son of Liza Todd and Hap Tivy, the daughter and son-in-law, respectively, of the Cleopatra star, and he's undeniably inherited Elizabeth's pale skin, dark hair and striking eyebrows. 19. Mick Jagger and Amber Jackson. Just one look at her cheekbones should be enough to tell you who Amber Isis Jackson's famous grandpa is. Yes, she is the daughter of party girl Jade Jagger, and therefore the granddaughter of the Rolling Stones frontman Mick. Amber also no doubt made the rock and roll legend feel even older when she gave birth to son River in 2019, making the one-time rebellious youth a great-grandfather. 18. Jacqueline Onassis and Rose Schlossberg. Thankfully, Rose Kennedy Schlossberg has so far managed to avoid the apparent curse that has plagued her super-famous family for the best part of a century. The aspiring comedian is, of course, the granddaughter of Jacqueline Onassis, the former First Lady who passed away in 1994. Rose has often been compared to the grandma she lost aged 5, particularly due to their shared fondness for bobbed haircuts. 17. Anne Gwynn and Chris Pine. Anne Gwynn made her name in the early 1940s as a star of horror classics such as Black Friday and House of Frankenstein. Her son, Chip's favorite Robert Pine, followed in her footsteps, as did his offspring, outlaw King Lead Chris. Unlike his grandmother, whose career thrived in the black and white era, the latter has been able to show off those sparkling blue eyes in all their vivid glory. 16. Robert F. and Connor Kennedy. Put pictures of Connor and a young Robert F. Kennedy side by side, and they look more like siblings than grandson and grandpa. Like nearly everyone else in his famous family, the former has faced his fair share of troubles over the years. Tragedy struck in 2012 when he lost his mum, and 4 years later he was arrested following a scuffle while out partying. Connor has also dated one of his cousin Patrick Schwarzenegger's exes, Taylor Swift, 15, Ringo Starr, and Tatia Starkey. Tatia Starkey has not just one but 2 celebrated drummers in her family tree. Her father Zach played for Britpop giants Oasis, while grandfather Ringo Starr was, obviously, 1/4 of the Fab Four. Tatia has followed in their musical footsteps as a guitarist and bassist, going by the stage name Veronica Avant, and she also helped Ringo become the first great-grandpa Beatle when she gave birth to son Stone in 2016. The youngster's born rocker mum undoubtedly inherited Starr's face shape and dark locks too. 14. Audrey Hepburn and Emma Ferrer. Emma Ferrer once told InStyle magazine that she struggled to deal with the constant comparisons to her style icon grandmother Audrey Hepburn. That might be why she once shaved her head entirely for a magazine shoot. It might sound like a drastic move, but the visual artist and children's rights advocate believes the late breakfast at Tiffany's star would now be proud of how she's now carved out her own style. 13. Henry and Bridget Fonda. As a member of one of Hollywood's most successful acting dynasties, Bridget Fonda was always likely to pursue a career on the big screen. The New York Times newspaper once remarked that the single white female star had carried on the family tradition by achieving a lot by doing very little. Best known for his role in 12 Angry Men, her grandfather Peter also appears to have passed down his looks, too. 12. Debbie Reynolds and Billie Lourd. Billie Lourd is the daughter of the late Star Wars actress Carrie Fisher, but it's grandmother Debbie Reynolds in her early days who the American Horror Story alum most closely resembles. The actress famously lost both within a day of each other back in 2016. During an appearance on Ellen the following year, Billie said, ... It's really hard to know what to say about it, because it is just so surreal and impossible to deal with. 11. Steve and Stephen R. McQueen. If the near-identical name hadn't already given it away, Stephen R. McQueen is the grandson of legendary cinematic icon Steve. With a similar nose, jawline and hair color, the Vampire Diaries star has certainly benefited from inheriting his grandpa's brooding good looks. As well as appearing in the CW hit, he's also graced other TV shows including Chicago Fire and Everwood. In 2011, Stephen told magazine Vanity Fair that as a youngster he'd watched his grandfather's projects with admiration and looked up to him. 10. Blythe the Danner and Apple Martin. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree is an adage that certainly applies to Blythe the Danner and her brood. The Meet the Parents star looks uncannily similar to both her famous daughter Gwyneth Paltrow and the granddaughter famously named after a fruit. Yes, Apple Martin has certainly inherited Danner's cheekbones, nose and face shape. We'll have to wait to find out whether she decides to pursue the same career as the more senior women in her family. 9. Tippi Hedren and Stella Banderas. Stella Banderas may look more like her famous father Antonio when she's sporting darker hair, but the actress undoubtedly bears an uncanny resemblance to her grandmother Tippi Hedren when she goes blonde. Stella has also credited the Bird star with inspiring her to go into the family business. The youngster's mother is working girl actress Melanie Griffith, while her half-sister Dakota Johnson is best known as the lead in 50 Shades of Grey. 8. Marlon and Tuki Brando. There didn't appear to be any love lost between Marlon and Tuki Brando. The Godfather star failed to leave anything in his will to his grandson, despite the fact that the youngster had lost parents and was only 13 at the time it was read out. Thankfully, Tukey has been able to capitalize on something he did inherit from his grandfather: photogenic looks. The model has worked for the likes of Dolce & Gabbana and Versace. 7. Donald and Sarah Sutherland. Sarah Sutherland might have inherited her grandfather Donald's facial features, but she has no interest in benefiting from his famous name. In a 2015 interview with digital style Bible The Cut, the Veep actress revealed, "I was very adamant that I wanted to arrive at navigating the industry in my own right." It's a claim backed up by Sarah's father Kiefer, who told Live with Kelly and Ryan that she's turned him down for several roles due to fears over nepotism. 6. Jane Fonda and Viva Vadim. Her Grace and Frankie character might not be the most attentive grandmother, but in real-life Hollywood legend Jane Fonda appears to be super proud of her grandkids. In 2019, she posted an Instagram pic commemorating her granddaughter Viva Vadim getting arrested for protesting about climate change. As well as passing on her spirited beliefs about the environment, Jane also seems to share the same nose, eyes and smile as her younger fellow revolutionary. 5. Tex and Jason Ritter. You probably know that Jason Ritter is the son of late 8 Simple Rules actor John, but you might not be aware that he's also the grandson of country music legend Tex. Despite the fact Jason's inherited the singing cowboy's jawline, smile and ears, the Parenthood star claimed to CMT in 2005 that no one had made comparisons between them. 4. Kirk and Cameron Douglas. Kirk Douglas sadly passed away in 2020, but his legacy will continue in the shape of son Michael and grandson Cameron. The latter was once noted as resembling a ripped and tatted version of the Spartacus star by the Los Angeles Times newspaper. Cameron, who's had several run-ins with the law over the years, told industry publication The Hollywood Reporter, "Kirk believed in me, even when maybe I had given up on myself. He was always there, always supportive." 3. Paul McCartney and Arthur Donald. Anyone who passes Arthur Donald in the street could be forgiven. They've time-traveled back to the swinging 60s. For the Yale University student is the dead ringer of his grandpa Paul McCartney in his early Beatles days. The son of TV producer Alistair Donald and Macca's daughter Mary also shares the same casual fashion sense. And he's not averse to the celebrity girlfriend either. In 2018 he was spotted out with Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillips' daughter, Ava. 2. Goldie Hawn and Rio Hudson. Goldie Hawn has no fewer than 6 grandchildren as the mother of fellow actors Kate and Oliver Hudson, but it's the latter's daughter Rio that's undoubtedly her closest mini-me thanks to their similar adorable smiles, blonde locks and big eyes. The youngster, whose mother Erin Bartlett is also an actress, was also once described by the Private Benjamin Starr as a chip off the old block. 1. Gregory and Ethan Peck. Out of all the grandparent-grandchildren lookalikes, this may well be the most blatantly obvious case. Ethan Peck is the spitting image of movie legend Gregory thanks to his strong jawline, piercing eyes and generally classical good looks. Only the bit of facial fluff separates the Star Trek Discovery actor from the man he used to call Grandpa,